Welcome, everyone, to the Infinite Star Connection podcast with your hosts, Jeff Demers and myself, Vivienne Chauvert. We are always thrilled to see all of you. Thank you for joining us for another great episode of season 5. Can you believe it? We are in season 5, everyone. So it is really incredible to be here. So we are waiting for our wonderful guest, Sabrina Campbell, who is a favorite on the podcast. We want to explore our connections, communi- animal communications. We want to, connect with what's going on the planet. What are the changes going on right now? So we're going to really dive into a wonderful episode. But before Sabrina's coming in, Jeff, how are you doing, my friend? I think you were doing more work with the Humo and continuing that research going on, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing that one book from Wendell Stevens, Volume 3, that was unfinished by him, and uh, putting the pieces together. A lot of the stuff he had was eliminated from his original notes, and I'm able to locate the documentation and uh, fill fill up the gaps. And it is a lot of work. It's a lot of have to find out his thought process, locate the document that I have, and then enter it in such a way that is meaningful. Because I could enter the stuff, it would be like 20 pages long. He isn't like that. His is just little blips. So I don't want to overpower what he was doing, but I want to complete his trilogy. So I'm about a quarter of the way done, and when this is all done, then I'll send it down to Rice University, and hopefully, when I retire, then I can go down here and organize all the UMO stuff and get that ready for anybody who wants to read it in the future.
Well, that sounds exciting. I want to read it because I know you've been working a lot on it, and you
Yeah.
spend a lot of energy and you learn a lot from it. So that's why I'm always curious to ask you about it, because I'm like, I know you're making progress and you're discovering so much more. So I want to acknowledge everyone also or joining us. Karuna, very happy to have you all the way from Sicily, Italy. Oh, molto bene, Karuna. Thank you. Grazie. Angelina, thank you for being here. We also have Lisa from Australia. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's wonderful to have you. And Toy from Sweden. Thank you for being here and all of you joining us. So Sabrina's going to come. Please stay with us. In the
Yeah, she's
meantime,
getting some work done right now. So as soon as that's done, then she will be here.
so she's coming, everybody. We're going to have Sabrina Campbell right here joining us very shortly on the Infinite Star Connection. I want to dive with her about the Council of 12. I want to understand her connection to the animal kingdom, consciousness, abilities to channel what that means. I want to go deep into that. We have more people coming. Emil for Norway. Thank you for being, Cheryl. It's wonderful to see you. Marcia, also from Italy. Well, so good to have you. Phyllis from New Brunswick, Canada. Oh, Canada. Good, good, good. Lucy, bonjour. Most likely from Montreal. I am very familiar with that. So, everyone, thank you so much for being here. So, we're just warming up the energy right now with Jeff and I holding sacred space. In fact, why don't we do that? We'll open sacred space to welcome Sabrina Campbell. She is just finishing something. She's coming very shortly. And as I mentioned, I want to connect with her ability to also channel on the galactic level, a cosmic conduit of energies. So I want to explore. Vladi from Germany, very much welcome to you. Good to see all of you from all over the world. Monica from Idaho, very nice, right here in the States. And of course, a warm welcome from Arizona, where I am, my beloved Arizona in the desert. So, as you're joining us, we're going to settle in. before Sabrina Campbell is joining us. So let's open sacred space. Why don't we do that? Let's do an energetic reset to bring ourselves balance, bring the mind, the heart, and the body in connection, to bring ourselves back into our beautiful sacred space before the fiery energy of Sabrina comes in. So let's do that right away. If you would please to join us, thank you for closing your eyes. And let's take a deep, grounding breath. And that deep, grounding breath allows you to settle in loving presence, in divine kindness, opening your heart with your mind to enter into more empathic responses, allowing you to unwind from pre-programmed automation mental response. Feel your energy shifting out of primal instinctual energies and to feel this elevation in consciousness. Take a moment to continue deep breathing. Feel the energy moving through your spine, all the way to your legs, your feet. Imagine like the root, the beautiful root system of a tree. Imagine your roots expanding through the energetic grids of your feet, expanding deep into Mother Gaia. Allow you, that's what we call a new way of grounding in loving presence, self-empowerment, self-care, self-love. And from there, you can let your inner tree of life blossoming to connect to other life, other consciousness, including the animal kingdom, Mother Gaia, the sacred elements, the elemental kingdom, the mineral kingdom, expanding our branches to connect to the galactic communities, connecting to your enlightened star sisters and brothers. And as the earthly part of you is very well connected, allowing the universal cosmic part of you to elevate in sacredness. So thank you for keeping your eyes closed, and that includes you, Jeff, if you can, and to really feel this opening of the sacred space in what we call reharmonizing your earthly aspect to your universal ones. Beautiful. Let's take a deep breath in and release. And then slowly bring yourself back into centerness, back to your heart, feeling your solar plexus also open, align with your crystalline core. This is your core of empowerment. Remember that you are an eternal cosmic being of light and you having this human experience. So to be balanced on the earthly aspect of your experience with the universal aspect of you, bring harmony, greater inner peace, higher discernment, clarity, and a higher capability for empathic responses. Perfect. Let's take one more deep breath and release. Oh, beautiful. Now you can open your eyes and perfect. Sorry, I had a little kitty thing going on in the background. Ah, how does it feel? I'd like to hear from you. Lisa, welcome. We have more. Laura, my dear friend. So good to see you. Demi, oh, my dear Demi, thank you for being here. Alwill, thank you for Berlin. We honor you. Fly Sky. Checked. That's incredible. And more people from Australia. We are very grateful to have you. So what we just did, it's opening in a very simple way, but very potent, opening sacred space. So you can really apply what we just did to everything in your life. And that sacred realignment of the human aspect, Earth, Mother Gaia, conscious connection, give you a foundation. And as you're expanding on the cosmic universal level, you can really feel how much you're connected to all there is. So just a little something you can work from. And without being said, the timing is impeccable. We will now welcome our dear guest, Sabrina Campbell. Sabrina, we've been waiting for you. We just opened Sacred Space. We did a breathing technique. You arrive at a perfect timing, my dear.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank
Oh,
you. And I'm not having a stroke this weekend, so we're
Oh,
good.
no. No planning of that at all.
That
None.
was interesting, though.
Well, and it's like I was doing some diabetes tending to, and I was like, crap. And I came running in here, and my husband was like, do you need me to make you a tea? That's not said very often. So already today is better.
yay. See,
Wonderful. Good.
Yay.
everything is synchronistic. We were able to welcome so many people from Italy, Berlin. We have people from, you know, Canada. We have people from everywhere, Australia. It's incredible. So I want to welcome everyone. People from New York, Carolina, our dear friend David. Always welcome, my dear friend California. You are being welcome, Sabrina. Shauna, thank you for being here. Beautiful energy from rising from Utah and Alabama. So we're very blessed, all of you. Well, let's take a deep dive. We opened Secret Space. We did an incredible universal earth breeding connection, as I call it. Now that we're ready for your fiery energy, and we love it. So, Sabrina, allow me to reintroduce you to everyone properly with your kitty there. We love the animal kingdom. I have several questions for you regarding the animals, and I'm cannot wait to dive. So Sabrina needs no introduction. She's a favorite on the Infinite Star Connection podcast with Jeff and I. But just allow me to give you a glimpse of her natural gift and ability, right? So Sabrina has many talent. Of course, she's a beautiful wife and mother, both for humans and pets, and I love that about her. Sabrina has an incredible journey when she's discovered truly her gift, her ability. I personally love your fire energy, and I was we need that fire energy right now. You have also ability as a psychic, talking to the higher self, the guide, mediumship, talking to people who pass on onto the higher realms of light, energy communication, to talk to beings from all areas of the cosmos and many dimensions, many guides, angel communications, talking to your guardian angels or archangels. I love that. And my favorite, personally, animal communication, talking to our beautiful animal kingdom, both who are in physical body and out of body. Of course, you're taking Reiki. You have a lot of ability with you to feel energy, to connect, to detect what has been blocking, what's going on, being able to demystify what's happening for people, getting messages, communicating higher truths. But you're also connecting with the Council of 12, and I want to dive into that even more today. Your ability is phenomenal, and welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you. You always make me sound so amazing. Every time I hear your introductions, I'm like, wow,
See,
thank you.
you're welcome. It's called empowerment, and that's something we believe strongly here.
Yes,
Empowerment, everyone, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. That's what this little one in my lap, you can't really see her, but Bean, she's she's my witch's cat. I wanted to put her on a broom for Halloween and go out with my son somehow with her balanced on there or with there. But no, I don't think so. Probably lose a little black kitten on that day. But this is the empowerment is Bean, because we found her on the side of the road. We weren't sure if she was going to make it, and she was 4 weeks old, like right? And
Oh.
I don't know. The first moment I touched her, she was scared. She couldn't see. Her eyes were swollen shut. She couldn't see anything. So she bit me, but she had a great big loud meow with it, right? And I'm like, well, that doesn't really sound like a cat that's given up. So we took her to the vets and like contacted a rescue and then took her to the vet. And pretty much the people who took her over as rescue, because she was a medical rescue, because there was some swelling in her brain, just not very much, but enough for them to say, well, we just want to watch her. And from that moment where we said we wanted to keep her, so we're giving her to the rescue only because we don't know what's going on with her, and we wouldn't per se have that availability of a vet to figure out what it was. So we were like, well, we'll give her, to the rescue for now. And then, but she knew from the moment we met her that she was wanted. And because of that, she was helping the lady who took her in. She was helping her every day with the other cats, and greeting them and doing the rounds with the woman. So empowerment and love means so much, and anything being wanted means so much. And that's really what we're here to do in this time frame, is really show how to show somebody else that they're wanted in any which way. Animal, people. I put a filter on my camera and I think it's not doing very well. It's making me look very blurry, isn't it?
Not to
No?
me.
Okay,
No.
good.
That's good.
No.
Good then.
Happy birthday, by the way, belated.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. 44. That's my year this year. Woohoo! Good number.
Woohoo. Young lady, 44. Enjoy.
Yeah.
What an encouraging about. So a beautiful, I would say, happy new cycle in your life.
Yeah. Well, we adopted her with another kitten, and we've had them since August, the end of August, very end of August. And this one here, she's absolutely delightful. The other one is delightful. She just doesn't want to be touched yet. So we're, since the end of August, and we've been letting her take her time on how she wants to be touched, when she wants to be touched. And she's just coming in so close now. So, and it's a reminder for everybody in our family that just because there's an animal in the house, it doesn't mean that it's there for our wants. And, we want to pet the animal. Well, that's fine, but you can't because she doesn't want you to. So it was funny because she fell into the bathtub the other day. We had a pretty bad storm come through. And anytime a storm comes through, we've learned with our house, just fill the bathtub. So we have like flushing water, toilet flushing water and such. So we filled the bathtub, and the other kitten's name is Carmel. And she looks like a Bengal tabby mix. And there was a male Bengal loose in the area where she was found when she was found. So who knows? But yeah, I know she looks very similar to your girl. Like, it's interesting. But we were in the living room. My husband, my son, and I were in the living room, and we just heard sploosh. Oh no. And we go and we look, and there's the cat who does not want to be touched, soaking wet. We were like, well, you're just going to need to be touched a little bit now, okay?
Oh.
So it takes some communication with them even then. It's a constant, and that kind of communication, it's what I know how to do, but I don't know how to explain, because that's the stuff that just is so in the moment, that it's really, you tell me what you want, and I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I also am going to catch you. We are going to dry you. And there's this very firm message going. And then a lot of the times they just surrender. They're like, okay, fine. Get me. And so I did. I put the towel over her and gave her a little dry down as best as I could. I wasn't going to push buttons, like I'm not going to ask her to dry her belly. I don't want to have a death wish, but, but, so that was nice. lots of wildlife comes like that too. Birds.
I'm curious about something about this little kitten, your black girl that you have now. Um, when you found her 4 weeks old on the side of the road, and then the journey. So, at what point that she came back to you and you knew that she was going to be part of your family?
When we met her.
Yeah.
There was no, and we had just lost our other, like, we were in love with our cat Kiki, and we had just lost her the month, well, about a month and a half before we found Bean. And then we rescued Bean, and then she went to the rescue, and then we lost our 17 and whatever year old dog in the same week. So, and he had said to me, "You just wait to see what I'm coming back as." And
Oh,
I was like, "Oh boy, please don't be a horse." Because like I want one, but I don't want one. They're so, good luck going on a vacation kind of thing, right? Like,
yeah.
and I'll have one at some point, but I don't want one right now. And no, we think that Bean is a mix of both. She's like both Kiki and Torque. I mean, she has this ball affinity, and Torque was an Australian cattle dog. And if anybody knows anything about healers, they are like the healers, as in blue healers. They are like the most ball infatuated dog that is created. So he our old guy had a favorite blue ball, and now Bean plays with her favorite blue ball, which is chewed up to bits, but she loves it. So she keeps playing with it. We're like, "Do you ever get tired, kitten?" And then we remember Torque, who used to come back, oh, hours he could play fetch, and you're like, can you sleep yet? And he's like, "No, ball, ball."
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When, as a for instance, if somebody in the family passes away, okay, and you have like a dog or a cat, whatever, can that dead person like go through the animal and communicate with the family?
Yeah, absolutely. The past person, as long as timing is okay, could be the animal. Who knows? Like it could be, like a grandma who passed, and then all of a sudden, oh, thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you. I got my tea. My tea. It's a huge cup. It's like a thermos. But if the timing is right, say grandma passed away and then you got a puppy, and the puppy and grandma sort of lined up, then it could very well be grandma spends some time or is in that soul or in that body. There is no lining. There's nothing like nobody has to earn anything to go from animal to human. Things that are human or animal first are far more enlightened people than people who have just been people. Um, Not many people can remember being plants, which is sad because that's where we get a lot of our wisdom from. Our I don't even know how to explain it. It's all that integrated wisdom that it's why it's so easy for us to learn that, a tree's roots reach out, and some people believe that there's tap roots with trees. Well, they're finding out that there isn't any tap root. It's just really the trees reaching out above the hardest layer of ground, but then also close enough to still get some nutrients from the grass or the rain coming down through the grass and such. So like it's all intertwined, and when we're trees and plants first, then we come out being like so brilliant. It's like where did you come from? Kind of brilliant. So yeah, we can definitely, and they can step in and out of absolutely what you were talking about, Jeff. A person who's past can step into, even animals can step into living people and animals. So people can step into living. They don't, it's like an agreement. It's not like they take over the animal. They just make an agreement. And it's kind of how I view it is as the original soul kind of moves over to the side, and then the visiting soul comes in just for a little bit. Usually they both enjoy it. It's actually, if there's a human involved as well, then all of them enjoy it a lot because it's usually they come in at such beautiful moments. Like I had this client who had a daughter who had a pony, and she always wanted a horse. Her next thing, she wanted to be a horse, but she had lost her pony. Her previous pony, it had passed away. And so she had gotten a new one. It was a rescue. It was, you know, kind of like just supposed to be staying at their farm for a little while until it figured out where it was going and what was happening with it. And of course, the little girl ended up loving it, like absolutely loving it. And she was like, "Oh, I can feel the other horse in here sometimes." And so the mother wanted a reading to see if her kid was crazy or if that was really going on. And I was like, "No, that's totally." And I had said it before the mother had asked about it. So this is how they do the proof now, is a lot of the times is they'll give me information and then they'll be like, "You say it," like to me, and then I will say it, and then they'll be like, "I was just gonna say," and it was going to be something off the wall, like, you know. I feel like maybe sometimes the previous horse walks into this horse and there's an agreement with that. And then your daughter gets to feel what it was like with that much trust and love. And she gets to have that glory ride and many times. And then the mother was like, "I was just going to tell you about that. I was going to ask you if that's possible." And it totally is. And it's not just possible. It's so enjoyable because it's such a safe and warm kind of nostalgia. You know, uh, there's nothing weird about it. It's just so natural, organic.
Yeah,
That
because I had a dog that I rescued for about 8 months, and he finally passed away. But his name was Prince. He was a little Bichon Frise, and that dog for these last few months was with me everywhere I went. I rebuilt a Harley. He was right there, and I had to get another one, and I got my dog now, who is a Bichon Frise. Can they both, you know, because there are times that this dog is like my first dog, you know.
Yep.
It could be the same trait, the same type of dog, but it can't be, because he's doing what Prince used to do. And, you know, it just seemed odd that, you know, that's what Prince used to do. What are you doing that
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love it. And when we see those glimpses, like when I see them personally, like for the longest time we have this digital camera, what do you not camera, sorry, picture frame, and it just runs the pictures through it on a memory stick, right? So you get to see not the same picture at the same time. Well, for a while after Torque, our dog, had passed away, that's the only picture we saw on that frame. It just kept on going to that one specific picture of him looking up at the camera. He still had both of his eyes because later in life, well, tell you the truth, it wasn't really that much later. It was really when he was quite young. We had to take his eyeballs out. And but on this one picture, it would go and show his handsome face, and then it would freeze. It would just shut the thing down. And we'd be like, "Yeah, you're just too handsome. That's what it is." And we leave and we come back and there he is. So it's so many different ways that they can show themselves to us. It's like I feel them a lot of the times. Like my mom's dogs, every time I go downstairs, I can feel one of my mom's dogs pass by me. Not every time, but a lot of the times. And it's just become so familiar now that it's like, "Oh yeah, here you are."
Yeah, I
You're
know.
here.
Yeah, that happens with the Ponte here. They're around so much. It's like, yeah, okay, just don't stand in front of the TV. I don't
Yeah.
care where you go, you know?
Yeah. Don't make it blurry.
Yeah, really, yeah.
well, this is very synchronistic because I just discovered that my Bengal girl, my cat, my majestic Peanut, that she's very famously known for the tail on the screen,
Yeah.
um, that she was carrying another soul. There was two soul aspects coexisting: her own original soul energy, and the one of her brother who passed away almost 3 years ago now. Um, Her big brother he took her in when we got her when she was 8 weeks old. Jimmy, my beautiful teddy, he was like a teddy bear of love,
Yeah.
white, orange, just a teddy bear. He was just going and he was talking to me and he was just pure love. That's what his mission, just to emanate that energy of love. So when he passed away very suddenly, because the soul has an opportunity and he wants to continue to evolve, and I told him, yeah, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, an aspect of him stayed with my Peanut. And a few days ago, I discovered that for almost 3 years now that her behavior was in a certain way, that because she had those two soul aspect, sorry, cat hair, two soul essence coexisting, sorry about that, coexisting in one body. And
Yeah.
then it was time for my boy, for Jimmy, Soul Aspect, his brother, to shift and move forward and move on. And it really shifted the
Mhm.
energy of Peanut. She's a little bit more tempered and a bit more calmer. She will let me touch her a bit more. It was less, difficult for her. And I know and thank you, Laura, my dear friend. You remember my Jimmy. He was just a teddy bear of love. I mean,
No.
he is this big lyran being in his original form. He's like a sunlight. He beams out energy, and
Yeah.
he told me that he's helping me amplifying the light that I bring to the planet. And this is why he wanted to move forward in different form. But I want to
Mhm.
ask you something about the animal kingdom. I know you have a wonderful gift and relationship with them, Sabrina. And I see more and more, I see a distinct change in the animal kingdom, whether it's our companion at home, whether it's farm animal, whether it's ours, whether in nature, whether it's, what they call street dogs or cats and animal all over
Mhm.
the world. Something is up. Do you get any
Yep.
sense, message? Okay, please do share.
Oh, so much is up. There is so much happening on this planet right now that is super hyper positive, but we don't know about it. And we're not gonna until, right? So the animals do, and the animals can feel the vibration of again, the Schumann resonance is rising. How does a resonance that's been the same for how long rise without there being the room for it to do so? Right. And so if our average resonance
Are you
is
asking me
rising,
why?
yeah, well, no, it's a rhetorical question. And it's rising because there is so much emotional mud and murk that has been sifted and worked through. And with this mud and murk, this emotional mud and murk that's being sifted and worked through, it's giving space for all of us to be able to move into that emotionally intelligent part of ourselves. And we are not able to do that unless we begin to delve into our deepest parts. And right now, for most men, delving in at all is the deepest part. So we're needing to support a lot of our men. And with that, the animals are like, there's so many men that I know that have gotten animals on their own, which normally they wouldn't have had animals on their own. Like their girlfriend or their wife or their mom always had the animals, but now they're getting them. And I'm like, of course we are, because we're all moving to this point where we need that reflection in order to make the immediate changes that need to be made in order for us to move up with that resonance. Because unfortunately, if we don't move up with the resonance, something else happens. So when the animals, not when, but the animals are doing a lot of work right now to support us in being incredibly reflective. So like people will get the animal that they think is wrong for their house. Like our kitten Carmel. I didn't think she was wrong for the house. I trusted the people who were giving her to us, but we had never met her. And they had said, well, she's a little bit skittish. And I had said, okay, I'm laying it out. We yell when we communicate. I don't mean that we yell at each other. I mean, I yell from one side of the house to the other. I learned that from my German parents and grandparents, right? And my husband does the same. And my son does the same. And my son is a 12-year-old almost boy who bangs and smashes and stomps his feet real loud. And so I made that very, very known, because it's not so much who I'm talking to, it's more for Carmel. Like, you say whether or not you're okay to come into this. I'm laying it up. It's all out for you. And she said, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Because she wanted love.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day she's reflecting to me how the softness and the frankness that I bring into this house because of my being who I am is helping her to move forward. She's not saying, please always be quiet. She's not saying that. What she's saying is I need to work on this. So just continue doing whatever, but don't focus on me. You know, like in those moments, don't look at me. Or like when I'm doing this, when you're yelling to find out where Steve is, you know, like I'll just yell at the door, or I'll yell in our kitchen, Steven. And if he doesn't answer, then I go to the door and I'll yell outside, because we've got a big property. So I'm not gonna, you know, put little radios everywhere. But Steven, are you ready to come to the house? You know,
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah.
Copy that. Okay, Roger.
You know what though? We live in such a, I don't know what it is. It's like everybody experiences it. They call it the Hartley hellhole, because our road is Hartley Road. And there's very little cell reception that you can get here. There's very little, like, everything is garbled. So it's like, even if you did have a radio, you'd be like, there wouldn't be anything that came out of it. So, but yeah, in the long, or in the short part of that long response, they're very much doing what we need them to do and reflect back. So I was saying, if somebody got a cat that was really sensitive to noise or really sensitive to fast movements, it's not because that cat needs to become totally used to it, although it probably will. And it's not because the person has to become so opposite of what they are, so light on their feet and whatever, you know, this cat would feel most comfortable with. It's not about that. It's about meeting in the middle. It's about that whole giving and taking. What can I give that equals my take? Because I really need this from you, you know?
Right. No, that makes sense. And I really believe at this point of evolution of where we are, especially in these timelines that we're in right now, and there's a distinction in the rising of the human consciousness, planetary vibrational frequencies, the new grid system. There's a lot of movement, a lot of purging, whether it's historical, political,
Mm-hmm.
government structures. I feel and I want to know your opinion about this based on your experience and gifts. But it is my understanding, and as the earth is really shifting into a new paradigm, more harmonious, symbiotic energies, then the gap between humanity and the animal kingdom needs to be healed or reconciled
Yeah.
and brought
Yeah.
back together.
Yep. And it is. And like, what I love is I love watching videos, just typical videos on anywhere, Facebook, wherever. I get a lot of my information from media, strangely enough. But that's because, yeah, I use it for the forces of good. Um, but I see everybody talking about how they're really working on um like softening themselves. This is the best word I can find, is softening, so that they can, like, when I was going to say, when I watch the videos and I see somebody comment about how, you know, I mean, I'm going to paraphrase, they are saying, I mean, it's nice to see an animal doing something with people, but, you know, probably wants to be out in the field or something like that, right? And I see that person say something, and then a whole bunch of other people, oh, I see you've never had this kind of an animal before. But I'm looking at the difference in opinion and where these people are standing at. And what I'm seeing more and more is those people who used to be quiet because they were so sensitive, they just get made fun of and ridiculed by the hard asses. They're now like, nah. So many things in my life that I don't need to prove to you anything. I just know that by the look in that animal's eye, I'm going to say it doesn't want to exactly be doing that all day long, you know, like, and to me, that's a huge shift. I mean, people used to just be quiet because they didn't want to be made fun of. They didn't want to be ridiculed. And now they're like, who cares? Like, there's so many other people who are backing them up. And again, it's not about looking at somebody or our species dividing or anything. It's literally the opposite. It's that the love and the kindness and the respect for that being that they're watching is at the forefront of their words and their choice of words. And that's happening way more. I mean, there's so many people that I like, farmer guys that I know that now, where when I was younger, I would say things to them because they would, you know, an animal is a thing. It's not a being. And well, a person's body is a thing too, but the thing inside of it isn't, like that's something significant. But now I hear them saying things like, well, we don't want to get all caught up in the animal lovers. We don't want to get in trouble from them. When really what they're saying is we're recognizing that what we used to do isn't really acceptable. Like we're seeing that how it used to be done, but we're just going to lay it on somebody else for right now, because right now it's always going to be about blame until that gap is closed. It's going to be about the side that's not able to see a large spectrum of view is always going to have its say, but we need them to, because first off, when they do, we know how to gauge how we approach things, because we don't want to hate them into submitting. We want to love them into surrendering.
Okay, Sabrina, you lost me a little bit here, and I think the audience too. Who are you surrendering to? And can you a little bit sensitize a
It's
little bit
more
more?
frequencies, like people at certain frequencies. So like lower frequencies will be those who are closed-minded to animal welfare, or it doesn't matter what. It can be like anything, a pet, a farm animal, a wild animal, like we're talking about, any of the animals.
Right.
If we're operating at a certain frequency, and I only say they because I don't go down there very often to that frequency, because I don't want to. I would rather have a conversation with my animals than see them as some things. So whenever I say the they, I'm saying the they that isn't open yet to the point where they can see that we see an animal as an actual person, like
Oh,
it's
okay.
equal.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you're referring to those people overall whose consciousness has a lower level, heart is
Mm-hmm.
shut down, and they perceive animal as a thing that can be disposed of the way they see it fit,
Right.
which that's the gap that needs to be healed.
Very
I
much
agree.
so.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Plus, you said something important too earlier about blame, and I think that right now we are in that energy where the people, whether it's podcasts, whether it's content creators, whether it's news, there's a lot of what I call the tennis ball game, a lot
Yeah.
of back and forth, blaming, pushing outside of itself or oneself, or instead of looking at, okay, what is that? Where's the ownership in all of this? What is it that I am shifting? Things are coming, I'm purging instead of throwing the ball at somebody else or blaming whether an animal or
Yeah.
somebody else or an event.
And really what they're doing is playing squash. They're just throwing the ball at a wall. Like it's not even really anybody, because you have to catch that ball in order for blame to be laid, right? Or taken, blame to be taken. So the blame thing, I feel, it's because we have been conditioned to step out of accountability as a species. We've just learned how to just not ever be the one who needs to change, work on something. It's always going to be the next person. That's conditioning. That's not real. Because when we're children, when we get hit by somebody, say there's no influence coming in, just two kids playing, and one of the kids hits the other kid, there is no blame. They both know what happened. there's no need for blame, because one is accountable, one is not. And so those two kids would then, I'm going to assume, but the kid who gets hit, I'm pretty much is going to say, ow, why'd you do that? And then the other kid isn't going to say, most of the times that I've seen, they're not necessarily going to say, I didn't do it. What did I do? Most of the times they're going to be like, I don't know. I don't know. But
Right.
they don't care about who is responsible. It's more just let's figure it out. Why did it happen? I know what you did. You know what you did. Why did it happen? So
And,
this is
yeah.
what we're missing.
And I agree with that. I feel that brings up a deeper, more ancient roots, and it's even in the DNA, the old DNA template about the fear of persecution and being blamed and the fear of being punished. And I
Yeah.
think that from in this a galactic historical perspective on this earth, That goes back all the way back to the Anunnaki with the DNA manipulation, the gene of obedience, fear, higher authority. So, of course, we're being programmed as children to, if you do something, you're going to feel the consequence. So instead of teaching, like you said, let's see what we trace the steps, what happened, what solution can we implement. Let's learn the lesson and earn the wisdom, like we always say. So that's a
Yep.
really good point you're making, Sabrina. Thank you.
Well, and you're welcome. And thank you for asking that, because it's a very it's like a pathway to where we're wanting to go. It's acknowledging, and again, the enlightened ones are about the only ones that have the space available to be able to ask themselves why they chose to view something a certain way. So say somebody comes in aggressively at me, excuse me, I'm not going to say, I mean, I might initially say, whoa, what's your problem? But then I'm going to think to myself afterward, what is it about me? You know, like what did I learn about me in that situation? And it's not about talk about me. It's more about figure that out. So the next time it comes around, I might be able to plug into that a little bit faster, or
Right,
plug out of it a little bit faster, whatever is needed.
right. And how does it connect with the animal kingdom or understanding of how animal, these very sentient living beings, perceive everything and comes with purpose? How does it connect? How does it fit?
So intricately. Very, very, it's like a puzzle piece, but the fitting of them is I'm trying to find an analogy or like a metaphor for that, and even that is difficult. They are all of the wiring in between the wiring. They're the like autistic children and animals are so close in their understanding of how to move things through this earth. They're so capable of um moving information instantaneously from one spot in one universe to another spot in another. And that's why like autistic children have so much um they have to focus so much to stay here, because that's not their purpose. Their purpose is not to be grounded here. Their purpose is to have a ground in here, and then also send information out to so many different universes, so many different planets, so many different star systems of every variety. And I mean, and anybody holding that much wisdom inside of their, going through, not holding inside of, but that much wisdom going through their body is going to have something that's not the same as what's perceived as typical, because that's a lot of information. That's why they have, like, they can just pull stuff out of nowhere, and they know it, and they know the information from it because it's passing through them all the time.
Right.
So, and them and animals, the same thing. This is why when we ask our animals, when I ask my animals, you know, like, what do you feel I need to work on? And they'll just boom, immediately show me a memory from wherever in my life, because they know that's how I operate. So they kind of weed out the memory, they find it, they allow me to hook into it. And when I do, I'm like, oh, because every one of my memories is logged emotionally, it's logged intellectually, it's logged wisdomly, it's logged in every kind of way. And I know that information as soon as I look at that memory, because the intention is so, it's so certain that this is what you're looking at this memory for. Remember this memory? Remember how you felt in it? You're using it for the feeling that you felt in this memory. Okay. And the animals, at least the ones around me that know me very well, they'll bring that stuff to me right away. It's instantaneous. And like, I'm grateful because they are my computer.
That I love the way you just put everything. There's something else I want to go into, but I want to give Jeff a chance to maybe ask questions or explore other things. Do you have any questions or comments, my friend?
Yeah, we would. Yeah. Does a animal can an animal share a conscience?
Yeah. Like share permanently, or like
Oh no,
just,
no, just a temporary, share.
yeah. Well, and they can even use they can remote view. They can use their consciousness to go somewhere and check stuff out. And the cool thing about an animal is they're not stuck to the 3D. So they're not stuck down here. And when they decide to go and do some like real, this is just like the autistic kids, especially kids, like kids under the age of 12 that have autism. And I would even go a little bit further and say the like nonverbal, the really those ones are really plugged into the whole spectrum of the universe. Same with the animals, and they can go out and see things and be places where their bodies aren't. So like their consciousness can be shared in a way where it's effortless for them, but it's work for us, because that's what telepathy is. It's sharing a package from your consciousness. And for me, telepathy is it's every sense you have, equaling, or no, sorry, including the sense of touch and all of them, smell, sight, sound, everything. Plus then an emotional bit comes with the package, plus a message comes with the package, plus, so like telepathy is, well,
Telepathy
it's like,
is not conscience. It's not, they're totally different.
it is, but you're working through the same streamlines or the same energy lines. When you're using telepathy, what you're doing is you're literally, with telepathy, you're taking a packet and you're putting it at somebody else's brain. So if I wanted to send somebody a telepathic message, I would take a package. I'm not as good as the animals. The animals would take a package, send it, and put it at that being's brain, whoever they're intending to send it to. And then whenever that being is ready to open up to that information, which is usually immediately, then they bring that in. And that is the other being's consciousness coming in to their consciousness as a packet. And what they do then is share and pull out, like the animals do with me. They pull out memories, or animals can read that packet, that telepathic packet, very easily. So it's like you suck it in, like right into another's consciousness, because you got to play that reel. You have to listen to that audio. You have to, and it has to be, for the animals, very well, not nonsensical, very sensical.
Well, there
So,
was only one person that I could really use telepathic communication with. Of all these people, there was only one. Okay, and it was by accident, but I couldn't. I had to be careful how I thought around him. It was Otter, Sue Walker's husband, and you know, we anyway, it was a weird get up, because I wasn't expecting it, but he knew what I was thinking, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I had to be very careful what the hell to think about. You know, I mean, we were going in Roswell driving, and I'm thinking to myself, God damn, this guy's driving so fucking slow. So he pulls over to the side and says, "Here, you take the wheel then." I'm like, oh boy. So yeah. You know,
yeah, that's telepathy. And they worked with telepathy. Like they did exercises on telepathy. So like that's what that is. It's not that you share consciousness, it's that you invite them in.
Right. It's just messages back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it isn't a shared.
And if you have kids, like a mother with kids is exactly the same way, as long as she's in tune with her kids, because that's the same as my son. For the longest time when driving, I had to be very conscious of my thoughts, because he was with them and he wasn't old enough to know what was going on. Like I'm talking a 3 and 4-year-old who's talking to me. I think I told this story once, where I was sitting I was driving the car. We were coming back from a hospital visit, and it was a snowstorm, and there was a white car in front of us, and they didn't have their lights on. And he was nearly 4, I think 3.5, nearly 4. And I'm thinking in my mind, I know it did not come out of my mouth, I'm thinking, geez, I really wish that person would turn their lights on, just so that I could see their taillights, And I tried flashing my lights. I tried a bunch of different things. And my son in the back was like, Mom, how come they don't have their lights on? And he's too young to know anything about that. We don't talk about lights and stuff like that in front of him. It was just, he was there with me. And it's like, okay, noted. Noted.
Check.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was like, well, I don't know. I just think some people like to make it a little bit of an adventure, more than it needs to be when we're coming home on the roads.
Well,
Oh,
But I do know that when you use telepathy, when we Earth humans use it, it isn't far. I mean, you have to be in
no.
pretty close proximity to actually make it work. You know, whereas some ETs they can
Oh,
go
yeah.
the way. You know, because that's what
Yeah.
they're. But we're still new to that game.
Oh,
well,
for sure.
no, you're not new. You just forgot. You're rediscovering it, thinking you're new to the game. But you've been in the game for far more longer that you remember. That's the only glitch here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at beings, pure beings like animals, I remember my girl, my Bengal girl, when she arrived, she was given to me, 8 weeks old. She looked me in the eyes and she sent me a beam, a signal directly in my third eye. And it was clear. She was telling me everything that she wanted me to convey. It was that I was chosen. I'm going to be the one taking care of her, and I want her. She wanted me to feed her now. Everything was conveyed very clearly, but the thing about that, there's also telepathic receptivity. You have to be receptive.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. There we go. That's the key, is it not? Receptivity. So in the case of Sue Walker's husband, well, he has the gift. That's because the transmission and the reception field is open for him.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise,
Oh, he's good. You know, he was.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
He
it
was.
would.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is that you have to also have the receptivity point open in your field to receive those transmissions. So when my peanut was 8 weeks old, she knows who I am. So she knows that any transmission, I'll understand it, because this is how my Australian father in our delegation communicates with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to this kind of transmission. What I found challenging is using my jaw and my lungs and my throat all the time to communicate verbally. That is challenging. Whew.
Don't you give up? I do this. That's how I walk around my house. My cat just like Bean will be somewhere and she'll be like, and then she'll, boop, 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 boop. I can hear her little footfalls running all the way over to me. But Jeff, getting back to the telepathy thing, I do a lot of work globally with people on the telepathic thing. And the thing about reception is that even when we think we are open for reception, we have so many boundaries and guards up that we don't even recognize it. So the
Right.
message doesn't come
Right.
through.
Right.
So it will for Otter, but not for you, because you've not learned to trust that signal, that frequency coming
Right.
through.
Right.
So, and if you were like my girlfriend, I have a girlfriend that lives in Hong Kong, and her and I, we've done a few times different, like over the years, not often. We just randomly do them, and she always gets like something very right out of it, whether it be the color or the object, but not the color, or where it's grown, or if it, like there's always something very direct that she gets that. So it's always about, with telepathy, it's always about being able to understand, no, being able to trust and not understand. So the information just comes in and, oh, I see a yellow tennis ball. I don't know why. Weird. It's not green. It's like yellow. And then somebody will say, the other person will say, well, I was thinking of one of those little yellow ball flowers, the ones that are yellow and they're balls, and so you have this one piece of information going out, but if the other person doesn't have an example or a blueprint for whatever that means, or like an experience, if they've never seen that flower, like I know what the word edelweiss means. I've never seen a flower, the edelweiss flower. So if somebody were to send me specifically an edelweiss, I'd be like, cool, it's a flower or something, like I wouldn't be on it that unless we were
Right.
doing the work together and planning on it. But the telepathy is, if you can speak with animals, if not if, we all can speak with animals. It's when we're aware that we're speaking with them and that they're speaking back that we recognize that we've been doing telepathy our entire lives. We speak to each other with telepathy. The problem is that we've only ever been giving and not really opening, like we were talking about, opening up to receiving it. So we're used to pushing it out, but then not opening up to allow it to come in. So it's like a whole bunch of messages being sent out there and Yep. No receptacles, nobody open for it.
Yeah. That's because there's too much filters, even in what we call the Gaia sentient field. There's just too much either distraction, interference, filtering out. So the
Yep.
signals are there. It reminds,
Conditioning.
yes, exactly, all of the above. So I want to change a little bit of gear and talk about more on the intergalactic level, because I know, Sabrina, you also communicate with beautiful beings from different dimensions. Um, and I saw uh, something about the Council of 12. So I would like to see, as of lately, working with your clients or even your guides, in terms of the changes on the planet. We talk about closing the gap between humanity and animal kingdom, which is, I feel, it's essential for enlightenment, telepathic or communications, opening to the receptivity, clearing our filters. But from an intergalactic perspective, according to your experience for those you've been communicating with, what has been either a commonality of messages or directions or wisdom, or maybe something you can share with us that I'm curious to know?
A lot of information is coming through for trust right now. Like so much information. It's undeniable. Everything that I do, everything that I talk about. I did an animal communication presentation at a local library recently, and everybody there was talking about trust, like either they had trust issues in their home and their animal is reading on it, or they're just not trusting some of the job opportunities, or just simple things that are coming their way, and they're not trusting it. And I was like, I think we have to re-look at the way we say not trust. Because what if you are trusting and you're just not going with it? Like, your energy is pushing you, you are pushing yourself in this direction that you want or you think you should go in. And the rest of the universe is like, no. And they put a big wall up. And then you run into it and think, oh, I'm so unsuccessful. I just ran into this wall. And I was like, what if it's really you're successfully trusting and you're respecting the wall that's being put up in front of you, that you are putting up in front of you. And I've had a few people like, oh, I never even thought of it that way. No, we don't. We don't think of ourselves as being able to surrender and move in the ways and the directions that we're asked or directed to move in. We do it awkwardly. We probably look like a bunch of really awkward tin soldiers doing what the flow wants us to do, but we don't know that we're going with the flow because we're so used to feeling like everything that is good and that we want is out of our reach. And so if it's in our reach and it's with us, then it's obviously something we don't want.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? So trust is a big label, and I understand that the quantum linguistic field on the planet is shifting. So I'd like to, can you give us a little bit more understanding about what is the intergalactic beings or the beings that you communicate with really means by trust, and how maybe to help everybody to get reacquainted with a higher version of what trust means? Or it's just, I'd like to get a little bit more
I like that.
detail. You like that, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so right now I'm not really certain who it is. So it's got a lot to do with Pleiadian, Arcturian, Lyran leadership. Orion is definitely in there because Orion is the one that's up front telling everybody to just step into that darkness. You don't need a flashlight, just move forward. That's what they're saying. Just move forward and stop waiting for the light to be there. You got to create it. And by doing the work, that's how you create it. So the trust that they're talking about is when it seems like something is so bad and it just seems like this is not going to get better. The trust is that it's only there to cause you to get better. It's not something that wasn't planned, wasn't invited. It's that hardship. Let's say somebody loses their job and they don't know how to get back into it, get money going and money flowing. and they're thinking that this is terrible. Oh my God, this, like, I really need work. I need money. I need to pay the bills, like we all need, right? And then let's say that they just keep wanting to go back to this type of a job. So they keep looking for this type of a job in different places, and they're not getting hired anywhere. And they're like, oh no, I'm going to lose everything. And they're freaking out because it's a hard time right now. So the trust in that would be that trust that each time you go up and you do this same knock against the door, it's going to be the same thing. The door's not going to open. You can't, right now is not a time where we go back to the old things, because those old things are not going to be there soon. So if we were like an accountant for a huge firm, I'm just throwing it out here, we're an accountant for a huge firm, and we just lost our job and we want to go to this firm or this firm or this firm. Well, you're going to get not accepted into all of them, even though you're either overqualified, just qualified enough, or at the perfect level of everything. You're not going to get it, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Because pretty soon that big firm is going to be gone. So, and I'm not saying that because of definite, it's just things are changing so quickly that we can't count on anything except what we are willing to put forth. So what I'm saying to a lot of people these days is, as far as work goes and as far as life goes, find what you love. No, either. Yeah. If you don't know what you love already, then find out what it is, and then find a way to make money at it. If it's 5 things that you love to do, if it's 20 things that you love to do, then find a way to work for yourself. And I'm not saying don't go out and get a job. I'm saying do things that cause you to feel valuable to yourself. And not valuable to the point where you can only work. You can't take any time off. You can't do this. You can't do that. This isn't what we're working on now. What we have to work on is that trust. So we have to put the intention out there that I want to work. I want to be happy with what I make money doing. I want to, and not just happy, I want to be content. I want to be joyful. I want to have that frequency of support, not being taken care of, because that's what we do, but the frequency of support all around me. That's what I want. And I'm going to find the jobs, whatever it is, that are going to allow that to blossom. I'm going to find the friends that are going to allow that to blossom. I'm going to find the food that is going to allow that to blossom. I'm going to. And my intention from this day forward is to trust all of the things that are given to me, even if that means I have to trust that I know it's wrong. So it's an interesting time, I must say. Are you having mic issues there, Vivian?
No, I don't.
Oh, I thought you were.
No.
I thought you were fiddling with a mic. I was like, oh, what's going on there?
No, I have to monitor the chat room. That's what I do too. So I'm multitasking. So you mentioned something very, very important. I feel like, especially right now, because there's a lot of big umbrella words are shifting, like trust. What does it mean?
So much.
So much, right? But I want to go back to something you mentioned about more in terms of stepping out of the 3D old paradigm way of I need to find a job to pay my bills, in terms of reversing that is what it really makes your heart sing. What is your talent? It's do what you love, that brings and generate the abundance that sustain you. So I feel it's a huge reversal of a thought system, where before people were working for 20, 30, 40 years plus, and then get rewarded later on and then do what they love. So we're stepping out of this old paradigm. So I can feel that. Would you say that also would help everybody to reopen their channel, be more connected also on a more conscious level, rather than be trapped into a 3D paradigm?
Expectation.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so freeing. Like if you had to talk to me 15 years ago and told me you're going to love gardening or the idea of gardening, I'd be like, No, gardener's garden. I don't. Like I wasn't that person. I was the person in the heavy equipment that loved to tear things up and move things. I still like to do that. But I wasn't so much the person who was saying, oh, let's put some onions and corn and things here, and then some of these flowers because they're really good for this, and then some of these things. I would never have thought that that was me. But I started to tap in. What do I love? I love being outside. I love being outside. And okay, what else do I love? Well, I love taking care of things, and not things like more like animals, like, or plants. I like taking care of people when they're my people, but I'm not a nurse. So I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. But so I thought, well, I love to weed, and I know what's a weed. And most of my clients are like, no, that's not a weed. I'm like, yes. And then they say, no, that's not a weed. Oh, yes. And we're going to leave the dandelions, right? Because bees, I mean, then they ask me, well, what do you think? I'm like, well, I always leave the dandelions, and I always leave the buttercups, and I always leave the this and the that, because then the bees can come in first thing and take them. And in our house, on our property, sometimes we mow one section and then leave one section. And then other times we'll leave one section and mow another. And so I give my clients these ideas, and most of them are like, well, yeah, duh. Of course we're going to leave that. Of course we're going to leave that. So not only am I doing what I love, which is being outside and taking care of outside stuff, but I'm also gaining clients who have the very same view as me. And the reason is because I trusted. I put out one day, I did this as a nighttime job, a weekend job, and it wasn't cutting it for the daytime job. So I was like, well, then I'll get out there, and I need to move and be in the sun. And so I put a post out there, and I was like, well, because my husband was sick at the time. And I was like, well, he's sick and he's our main income. So I'm willing to do I really labeled like so many different types of jobs: heavy equipment, hard landscaping, cutting grass, letting dogs out, picking up dog poop. I really didn't care. I happened to put the word weeding in there. And then everybody saw the word weeding. Everything else was kind of like, there were a few places that wanted to hire me for my heavy equipment experience and my other experiences with hard landscaping and like power tools. Like, it's good to be a person who has power tool experience. And but that was a full-time 10-hour a day job. I didn't want that. So I was like, well, thank you very much. I'm going to try this for right now. Can I get in touch with you if it doesn't work out? They're all like, absolutely. So they, like, either which way I went about it, my purpose was make the intention to be absolute. I want to do what I love, and then put it out there. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to work on, do I want to do that? Each time somebody comes up to me and says, can you do this? I'm going to say, do I want to do that? Yeah, okay. And then, the job gets done or the job doesn't get done. And so, and it led me to understand that it's really important we do this, and we don't just put our eggs all in one basket. It's so important that we start to do, like, why are so many people being diagnosed with ADHD? Maybe this is a skill. Maybe we need to have quite a few things going. You know what I'm saying? Quite a few different things.
Right. We're redefining also labels.
Yeah.
And instead of that, it's more extracting what is the gift, the abilities, the energy behind it, more harvesting that in a sense that, and I feel what you just described, and I love listening to you because you are this beautiful bridge, what I call between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Practical down to the earth, like fiery energy, but yet there's also great wisdom. And we extract the pearl. I'm like, oh, do you mean to say this there? And you go, yes. So we're such a great balance, all three of us. But you bring a beautiful example, Sabrina, in terms of shifting. This is what the intergalactic says. You're shifting out of your linear perspective, three-dimensional part of you, of what it feels like to earn a living and what you're supposed to do and your soul purpose and all of this. And you're moving into a more listening to your heart, deep passion. Where's your passion? Where is that fire energy? What is it that really makes you sing? And then, discovering if there's some labels you were put on, or doubts and all of this, you're shifting that completely. And I feel that's going to be supporting more where we're shifting on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I love about right now. There are so many people looking for work in my community, I'm sure everywhere. And yet, if I say to some of them, which I do sometimes, I say, "You're a mechanic?" "Yeah." "And like you have your own tools?" "Yeah." "Maybe you could drive to somebody's house and fix their tire." I don't know. Like you reinvent it, like you're saying. We don't need to be conditioned to see every job the way that it's been presented to us. We can change it. And like, I love riding horses, and I don't want to necessarily own one. But I know there's lots of people, you know what I mean when I say own, take care of one, and be financially supportive for it. But there's so many people out there I know that have too many horses, and they do hold value in these horses. There's so many times I could just throw myself out there as a or a ride for hire.
Mm.
You want somebody to ride your horse? Here I am. All right. Like
Right. Right.
these
And
are jobs.
Jeff, do you have something you want to have there? You're on mute, so we don't hear you right now.
You make what you create.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if what is out there isn't what you can provide, then be the first to provide it, like whatever it is you can provide.
Yes.
There's so much need for people to be real and really themselves. Like even the schools are starting to do that. We have a private school around the area that's starting up in September, and it's a farm school. So it goes by the same curriculum as the public school, which is whatever. And it also goes by their own learning. So they learn how to garden, they learn how to fix their tractor, they learn how to sew. Men and boys learn, not men, but boys learn how to sew. Girls learn how to fix the tractor, right? And it's like, well, that's what we need right now. We don't need somebody who's only good at fixing the tractor and then the other person is only good at sewing the clothes. We're making it very, basic here. Because what happens if the person who sews the clothes goes away for a weekend, right? Like it's not practical for a person to be trained in only one area and not expand their expertise or create their expertise, like find what they are and then do that better than what one did mediocre at a job that they didn't really care for.
Right. And I see what you're doing. And that means also for those of you, if you want to bring your shaman drum to China, do it. Feel your heart, connect to your heart, trust yourself. Imagine your drum traveling with you. It emanates the light. What is the intention of bringing your drum? Is it serving the highest and the greatest good of all? Then everything going to go smoothly. So we are collectively answering a little something for someone in the chat room right now. And so we're redefining our communication, education, how we're rediscovering our gifts, our abilities. What is the new potential that we're diving into? I want to talk a little bit more about your interaction or your communication with the Council of 12. Can you share a little bit about this, please?
Mm-hmm. So lately they've been coming in silently. I was for a while not seeing much, not seeing many beings, more knowing that they're there and feeling them. And they're starting to come back into my mind as being a being again, not energy. Well, it is energy, but not just energy. Also somebody. And it's funny because grief really does change the way a person behaves, moves through a lot of things. And with this grief, I've learned that the Council of 12 is like so grateful to use me as a whatever puppet, a mouth. But I call myself a megaphone for them because they always. And I used to say I'm a mouthpiece, and they're like, come on, there's negative conotones there. You're a megaphone. I'm like, oh, there's not with that. Like, but it's true because my voice can raise above so many sounds. When I worked in a factory, people at the other end of it would hear me because I can open up and just bellow. And they're like, okay, Sabrina, we heard you. And then go back and do whatever we were doing. But anyways, so the Council of 12 lately have finally, well, again, started showing themselves more in dreams and in daydreams than they've been doing in the past 2 years, I'd say. And there's something that happened just last night. And oh, I was in bed. My kitten was going after Bean. She was going after my feet. You know, moving feet under the blankets. Just, that is cat territory right there. And she was doing something. She was meowing funny. And when I woke up, I was certain that I was on my stomach, but I was looking at the ceiling. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? I really had to take a moment to really figure out which way is up and down. I don't really know right now. I'm not really sure. And then it kind of snuck in. Okay, well, I must have been flying before the dream, like before I woke up, before Bean sort of woke me up. And so I've realized now, putting 2 and 2 together, and this is what the Council of 12 has been helping me with a lot, is putting 2 and 2 together, is that any time that I'm feeling any bit discombobulated, you know, head, a lot of the times for me, it feels like my head is below my knees. It's weird. Like I feel like my butt is up in the air, but my feet are also kind of up in the air, but for some reason my head is below my knees. It's the weirdest feeling, and I don't know how to express it any more than that. But so this is, I'm learning now. Whenever I come out like that, even if I'm daydreaming, it's because I was literally doing work. Not literally, but I was doing work. And the work, now that's a given, but the work that I'm seeing being done now on the large scale, on the macro, is so much. There's so much. It's like the ground is like moving. There's so much energy moving underneath the ground, through the ground. There's so many that are anchoring, so many people that are anchoring into the core, to Earth's core, to Gaia's core, to her soul, explosive, beautiful, fierce part. And so many women are tapping into that right now. And it's not just specifically women, it's also men who are feminine, like feminine men. And it is the feminine, straight down to the center of that core, just straight in. And they know exactly what they're plugging into, and they know exactly how to pull up whatever it is that they need. And I find that energy, it's like the 12, they're just sitting up there waiting for it all to come up the pipelines and be a part of that energy that they've been putting into practice now for the last, I don't know, 110 years or something like that. So they've been doing a lot of showing me the behind the scenes stuff, not all of it for sure. I don't know if I would have a sane mind after seeing all of that work being done, but they are giving me ideas because they know I want to grow my faith, and I also want to learn more. And they're like, okay, all right, well, if growing your faith means learning more, then let's work on that. Let's do some of that. And so they're showing me small things, but that are huge, especially for the earth and the state of children on our earth. So that's like exciting in a way.
Well, that's amazing to hear. And now you got me curious. So Jeff, you're a man, you're representing the divine masculine, which is wonderful. Do you use the connection of the core of the planet? Do you allow yourself to connect that way, the way Sabrina just described? I'm just curious.
No.
I knew it.
No. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't do it that way. So,
well, yeah, it's an invitation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
tap in with your feminine side. Boom.
That's okay.
And that part of you needs to heal. It's all coming back together for all of us, whether you're a man or woman, whatever gender you feel more comfortable with, which we honor you, of course. It's all about bringing the divine energies of the feminine and the masculine together, uh, and connecting with the core of Gaia with the Council of 12. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
but I'm a Libra, so I always strive for balance anyway. And
Yeah.
I gotta have balance.
And the men aren't necessarily here to tap into Gaia's core. They're more tapping into Father Sky and pulling in the balance that way, right? Like pulling it from the top, and we're bringing it up with the women are bringing it up from the bottom. And that's why we need the men to step into that emotional aspect of themselves. Women and feminine men need masculine men to step into that aspect of themselves so that they can learn emotionally that they're allowed to do all of the things that men have been conditioned not to do. They're allowed to have the same freedoms we are. Again, men aren't the same as us. If we were to say, oh, man, you're allowed to cry, just a lot of men don't want to. They just don't want to. It's nothing to do with whether they're able to or not. They're not the same as women. And for us to expect them to be the same as women is expecting failure, because that's not what's going to happen. What they need to do, though, is step up into their power, into that empowering man part of them, the part that does connect to Father Sky, that does bring a balance from the heart of the earth to the heart of the cosmos. And in that balance comes the empowerment for men.
Well, I cried when the Lions made the playoffs. I think it was a wonderful thing. I was alive to see it.
There you go. That is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, I want to make sure people know how to reach out to you. So I'm going to show your website on the screen. So if you want to work with Sabrina, connect, better understand whether it's your animals, your guide, something about you, connecting heaven and the earth with Sabrina brings so well. And it's a compliment, of course.
I
The
love
website
it.
is right there on the screen. It's called sixthsensibilities.com. Very unique name. I check it out. I click on it, actually. So make sure that you write it down, take a picture of the screen. I'm going to let it on for the rest of the episode. I want to make sure people knows how to connect with you directly, Sabrina, because, you know, I like what you do, and you are this beautiful bridge. And from an intergalactic being that I am, you make me smile. I love to listen to you. I'm like, oh, I'm learning some earthly aspect here. I like it.
That's what I love. Thank you for that. And I love that. I love this role because honestly, when I talk to some of my friends who are super, super wooey, and I'm not, I'm like, what'd you just say? Because I'm so like 3D. I mean, I get what they said. I understand. And if I don't, then I'll ask. But it makes me laugh so hard. I'm like, how do you even know that word? Like, where did you get that word from in your vocabulary? How do you even know where to use it? Like, that's a big word. And then there's me, who's like, 5-letter maximum words, but they also have just as much meaning.
Yes,
There was something I was gonna say about the man. No, I don't remember.
It's gonna come back to you. I just want to acknowledge also something that someone shared in the chat room. Someone who experienced a massive stroke years ago, and something you can really relate to. And trusting this inner voice that says, trust the path, release resistance, trust the path, and being able to recognize the journey and being able to see that now, be able to do her heart calling and how the transformation, came about. And of course, honoring the journey, like look at Jeff. I mean, you're blossoming, you're radiating. I mean, you've gone through a huge metamorphosis. And so there's also trust in your own beautiful way. But we want to acknowledge that because this is a really big deal. A big accomplishment. I mean, a really big accomplishment. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would. Would you say, Jeff?
Yeah. Like I said, you make what you create. So.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and you can also have your own expectations, like not of anybody else, but of yourself moving through things. And not expectations that are going to damage you, but expectations like goals, but not set in. See, the way I do things is different. When I look at this type of repair, how I see it is more like, instead of having long-term goals, have like very immediate goals every day. And then that's because what you have to do is you don't have to put yourself up to a standard that you have no idea if you can go there again. You didn't know when you came out of your stroke whether or not you were going to be this Jeff again. And when you're moving through that, if you're saying, I just want to be that Jeff again, as an example, that likelihood might not happen. But if we're saying, I just want to achieve something today or something every day, you know, there's no definitive line then that you're deterring from if you're not making it fast enough, or, you know, you in case, you know, somebody from a stroke has some sort of lasting effect on their body, then they're not going to curse that effect as much because there wasn't this unattainable, huge expectation that they had to meet over time. It was more they just met an expectation of themselves every day, you know, like small things. And it seems so little, but they're so huge when you don't know where you're going.
It goes a
Right.
long way. The small
Like
things
an,
go a long way.
Yeah.
like an invitation, huh? Those steps that
Yeah.
bring you the next level. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you another step will be to tune in again for another amazing episode of the Infinite Star Connection. We'll be back on Sunday, March 17, regular time this time. We know that we're going to be changing time zone, everyone, so we're still going to be tuning in at 11 a.m., but it's going to simply be 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which means 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So remember that in the US and in Canada, starting on March 10, daylight forward, so time change. So we're going to be back on March 17, regular time. In a sense, it's still 11 a.m., but the label will change. Instead of mountain, we're going to shift it for Pacific Daylight Time. So 11 a.m. PDT will be 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you're international, like in Italy, Czech, Austria, New Zealand, wherever you are, Canada, just check with Google, what is 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time in my time zone? So you'll have the correct time. Just a
I thought
little.
we were going to change that. I thought we weren't going to do that now.
Well, if it was just for me in the intergalactics, that would be released from the timeline. But there's certain process there on the planet. So
I think so too. It's such a naughty thing to do. We finally get used to what time the light is coming up, and then it's got to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great comments here. Sabrina, as always, you are a breath of fresh air between earth and heavens, and it's a compliment, believe me. Thank you so much for your authenticity, your gift, your experience as a human being, a woman, a mother, a wife, an intergalactic being, a being of light, and all the above. So thank you so much for being here again today.
Thank you. I love you guys. I love hanging out with you. I love the questions you guys ask. I love the people that I meet from these videos. I love it all. Thank you.
All good. It's all good in the hood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
It really is. So you never know what's going to pop here on the podcast. So join us Sunday, March 17, 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll see you next time. But for now, hold the space. Watch this replay again because I bet there's still a lot of things Sabrina shared that you can pick on.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Thank you. I agree. Jeff, my friend, as always, Sabrina, much love to you. We'll see you soon, everybody. And we appreciate you deeply. This podcast is possible because of all of you collectively. So we're doing it together. Stay in your light, everyone. No fear, just a light. See you soon.